Basically, JMRI is set to run trains through routes with locomotives delivering cars to different locations. That's exactly what JMRI is, okay? And so you have choice. You need to set, the first thing you're going to do is go in there and do settings. And in here, when we set this up, we'll go in here and tell it that we want to be HO. You can do maximum train lanes, maximum train lengths. Just depending on how, if you have passing sidings, you wouldn't want to run a train larger than the passing siding you have. So you can limit that in here. You can put in locos. Most of the guys who are setting this up, we don't put them in there. Don't put this other stuff in there. You can do that. We're not going to run on a fast clock or anything. Car types, descriptive. That's rather than use AAR codes. Descriptive is boxcar, gondola. All those will be listed in there for you if you check that block. And then you're going to measure your unit lengths in feet. And the cool thing is when we set this up, and I'll show you later, you measure your sidings in inches and it converts it to feet. And it knows what size of the boxcar, so it knows how many cars can go on which spur, okay? So it won't put more cars on the spur than the spur will hold, all right? And then some of this other stuff is general stuff down here. And you'll set this up one time. So basically, after you do the setup in operations, then all you're going to do, you're going to work with these other 5 areas here. Locomotives, cars, locations, cars, locomotives, routes, and trains. And I don't do anything with locomotives. You only put locomotives in here if you want to assign locomotives to the train. But most guys don't do that I've talked to or listened to on YouTube. So really you're only talking about 4 things. And the first thing you want to go in here is you're going to find out what your locations are and define your locations on your layout. This is my layout, okay? Is this my layout? Yeah, this is my layout. These are all my locations.
Only you know.
I do know. These are all my locations. They're all listed on here. And these are locations where either a train would pass or it has a spur or a yard attached to it. And I can go in and look at, let's say here, let's go to Middletown Yard, which is a yard. And I'll go in here. And Middletown Yard is going to have 5 yard tracks. And it tells me the length of the yard tracks, how much is used, how many cars I have sitting there. And it's also, because I'm running my program, it's telling me how many pickups I have in there and how many setups I'm going to have in there, okay, based on how my trains are set up. So you set up the locations, and when we get our layout set up at the club, we'll establish new layouts. We might use some of the old layouts. We'll have the spurs in there, and then we can stage them over in our staging area and have the trains run out of there and then come back to staging. Make sense? So you set them up in there, and you define what you want. You can control this whole thing by, if you have a siding, for example, if I go back in here and close out of here and I come over to locations, so let's say I've got Apollo Oil. Apollo Oil, I can limit what goes into Apollo Oil. Apollo Oil it's an oil depot. Only oil tankers go into that location. So I can control the movement of the cars. I can also I can decide which cars go where. If it's in a yard, obviously it takes every car. If it's a spur, you might not want to run something into a spur. If it doesn't take oil cars, why put them into a spur? So you kind of control your movement that way in your locations. You can put in here, I've got interchange here. Let's see here. These are interchange. Like I've got an east interchange yard or spur and a west interchange, which theoretically cars are going in and off my layout to different places, east of my location and west of my location, and that's where they exchange in the interchange. So you can set up all kinds of cool things in there. Interchanges and staging are totally different. Staging is unique in JMRI. Staging, the whole train goes into staging and the whole train comes out of staging. You can't do anything with the train. It goes in complete and comes out complete. The only thing that happens in JMRI is if it's loaded going in, it's empty coming out, or vice versa. Okay, so I don't use staging on my layout. I use a yard as my central place to work to and from. Okay, because that does switch loads and I can run cars in and out. Okay, and then the trick on the interchange track is the train that brought the cars into the interchange can't be the train that takes them out. You have to have another train to come in there and take them out of there. So there's some tricks in there, but it's a pretty cool system, all right? So we got locations. So you set all your locations in. I set all these up. I told it which cars. I measured the length of the track in there, and they're ready to go. Any questions on locations? Yeah.
What order are those in, or do they have to be in any order?
They don't have to be in any order. These are alphabetical, if you look. They're all alphabetical. It doesn't matter. It's assigning. It assigns, if you look down the ID, and I don't claim to understand how this works, but it's pneumatically, it knows which numbers, and it somehow computes based off its number that's assigned to it. So, and JMR is a completely random selection program, okay? And I'll show you in a minute when we do a train, it searches, and I've seen it on there, these big layouts, it searches in like milliseconds and goes through every possible location, every car on your layout. It tells it, can it move it, and where it can go in a matter of just milliseconds. It's incredible. Locals I run into, like the Louisville yard. Louisville is my local, okay? And I'll run cars from Middletown yard to the Louisville yard, and then the Louisville yard, the local then will take them to Commonwealth Printing, Dixon Publishing, Evergreen Mulch, Forbes Plumbing, Hensley Lumber, Scale, and White House Gas. It treats that like a local, so it won't move. It'll just bring them into that yard, drop them, and then I'll pull up my local run. I'll show you on routes. I'll pull my local route up, and it'll run the locals and put them back in Louisville yard to be picked up on the next, either the westbound or the eastbound train that comes through Louisville yard. We can do this several ways. You can have, I know Kent spent a lot of time going over there, 3 or 4 hours, setting all these car cards up. Mm-hmm. We won't need to do that with JMRI. We can either set them ahead of time, but the computer will pull them all and set them, and you can do the 5-finger set and set them all on tracks and have them ready to go, or you can have a yard master that pulls the cars and puts them in there, however you want to do it. Let's look at the next thing. Let's look at cars, okay? And these are cars I have on my layout. Right now I've got 90 cars on my layout, okay? And you enter these in. And the good thing about us is we did a great job. We inventoried all our cars before we moved. We have them all on an Excel spreadsheet, all the cars that we have. So all we'll have to do is take those cars and sit down and enter them into the system, and we'll have them, okay? So Carl did a great job of doing that, so we'll get our hands on that. So what you do is just go in here and start entering your cars. So, and it's a place, let me show you here, if I wanted to add a car, it'll come up on here, and I'm just going to put XXXX is a car, okay? And I'm going to add a car. This works, car weight, okay? Length, we'll call it a 50-foot, okay? Add a car. So it's added the car now here. So I go in here and set the car, and it's a baggage car. I can choose what kind of a car it is. Let's say it's a coal car, and I can even tell if it's hazardous. Like I run chemical cars on my layout, and I list them as hazardous cars, and I can put some restrictions on where they go based on their hazard that's on the car. I can also link them up, like I have a mine there, and I want 3 of those cars to run together all the time as a unit, and they won't be split up. They'll run 3 in, 3 empties in, 3 full ones out, and I can set that up in JMRI. Okay, I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to delete that out of there. I don't want it in there. But let's say here I can actually go in and change this one any way I want, and it tells me where it is too. This car is located in the Louisville yard on Louisville track 2, so I know where it is. And go back to cars here. Let's say Mike came over to my layout and he laid a car somewhere on my layout, and or he laid it on my desk, and he left, got mad and left my layout. And I said, where does this car go? Where is it supposed to be? I can come in here and type in a number, and it'll tell me where that car is supposed to be, so I know where it is. I can also go in here and have a list of all my locations. They'll tell me what cars are at which location and which spur they're on at that location. So it's very easy to do an inventory of your layout and put them where they need to be, because after operating sessions, I know it's never happened to any of you, but sometimes operators don't put cars where they need to be. So you might need to know where they are. Routes, you have to define the routes. Where's the train going to go? When it leaves the yard, where is it going to go and where is it going to end up? Where is it going to terminate? Okay? So you make a route. You can have as many routes as you want. You can run the same route 2 or 3 times a day. You can have a morning route that's the exact same thing as the evening route. You can have a route that's, you can take off a few locations off of it and change it a little, however you want to do it. That's very adaptable. But let's say I've got, this is my Middletown eastbound, okay? And I can come in here, if I go to edit, it's telling me that I've got a train built, so don't change it because the train's built. But I can go in here and look at it, and it's going to go to from Middletown to Louisville to Middletown. That's my eastbound. It's going to drop all my cars from my local in Louisville, okay?
It's actually a turn.
It's a turn, basically, yeah. It's a turn, yeah. And I can tell, okay, do I want pickups and setups? I can determine that too. If I'm going to a location, I only want like if I'm going to my interchange track, I only want to do, if I'm going there the first time to drop cars off, I don't want to pick up anything because it won't even work that way. I just do drops. And then the next train that's going to come through there, it might be just pickups from that location. But you can control the movement that way too, whether it's pickups and setouts. But you determine all that right here in this route, okay? And then let's go look at another one here. This is my westbound. Now this is where it goes through my layout. It goes from Middletown to Cooper and to Cisco, Apollo Oil, Forbes Plumbing, FFB Bakery, Puff Kitty Litter Factory, Interchange West, Lexington, Team Track, and then back to Middletown. Okay. So you can set these up, and you can have as many routes as you want. You can, and again, I mean, the numbers. It's amazing. You look at some of these guys that have big layouts. They've got tons of routes in their system, and they don't run. You don't have to run it. The cool thing is you don't have to run every route. You can run one route. Like I'll go down to the basement, and I'll just pick one out. I've got a train built, and I'll run it about an hour and a half, and I take it back and I terminate it, and it's all the trains are back where they need to be. And then the next night I can go down and run another route, something different each night.
It'll automatically cycle through the cars that need to go to the...
Yeah, and I'll show you. I'll show you what it does here. Yes, sir.
What's the shortest length and max length? Why are they both 800?
You can. I guess you can squeeze them in there. I don't know why it's got a maximum, but the length, you set the length in there. That's a train. I don't want to have any trains longer than 800 feet because of the passing sidings. Okay.
Oh, it's feet.
It's feet. Yeah, it's in feet. Scale feet. And see, if you look here on routes, it's showing me that I've got 2 trains built. So let's go over here and look at trains. And here are my trains. Okay, and these are the trains that are built. Like right here, this westbound, it's told me that it can pull a partial. It's 22 possible cars, but it can work out 13 cars on that run can be pulled and moved. Okay, and then I can say, well, what are they? And I can go over here and look of where they're going to be here. Okay, I'm sorry. That's not what I wanted to see. I can go here to preview, and there's my switch list. Okay. So this schedule is going to start in the Middletown yard. It's going to be my westbound train, and it's MWB 30. It's a train number, and it's going to pick all these cars up in the yard. It's going to pick up the tank car, flatbed, a hopper. There's the 3 hoppers that are moving together. They're obviously going to be sent over to the mine. And then there's the cars. That's a different hopper here. This is, what is this one here? That's a different covered hopper. I don't know where it's going. But there's your 3 coal hoppers right there. And it tells you which track they're on so you know where to pull them from. All right. And then we're going to leave Middletown Yard, and this is westbound, so we're going to go west. Our next stop is Cooperage, and Cisco Foods. And it's going to pick up these 2. It's not dropping anything there. It's only picking 2 up. Then it's going to stop at a pile of oil, and it's going to pick up 3 empty oil tankers and carry them back. Then it's going to come into Forbes Plumbing, and it's going to pick up this gondola that's there. It needs to go back. It's been emptied.
Stan, you've got, just say 371 tons on that train, that's what you're
Yeah.
theoretically what
Yeah.
you're hauling?
Yeah, yeah, that's cool too. It knows it. You tell it it's a 50-foot car, it computes the weight of that car. So it computes the weight of your total train. You could actually, if you had a grade on the railroad, and you put your engines in there with the grade, it would limit. You would have to have extra engines to get up a grade. So it's that sophisticated. If you want to go there, but you got to, everybody that I read says start simple because you can get yourself out there in space.